I-95.5, bringing the carnival to you. Life on Virtual Street.
This is Life on Virtual Street.
Hello, world. Hello, world. This is www.i955fm.com, Trinidad.
This Sunday on episode 4 of I on Dependency. There are women addicted to substances and activities, but how prevalent is it?
There are many women who abuse different types of drugs in this country.
Women addicts are taken advantage of and often find themselves in very dangerous situations.
I was lost, but I started walking. And then I heard voices. It was 5 men. They were hunting in the bushes. And I told them my story. And they said, okay, we will help you. And their way of helping me, each of them took turns in raping me.
Get your girl child and don't miss Beverly's story of survival and will to live. This Sunday from 6:15 p.m. on I-95.5 FM or watch the reenactment live on the I on Dependency Facebook page. I on Dependency, where every life is a biography, features another comeback story from a recovered addict's diary. Tell someone.
This is I on Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Sundays at 6:15 p.m. on the most influential name in radio, I-95.5 FM.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to I on Dependency, right here on I-95.5 FM and live on the I Dependency's Facebook page. Good evening, Natasha.
Good evening, Garth. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago.
And welcome you all. Welcome to another informative program that we insist that we must do. Over the past week, we've had several calls from people crying out for help, even today. Mm-hmm. And again, it only drives home the point that there are a number of people out there suffering in silence, but we urge them to keep getting in touch, and we will do the referrals or we will help where we can. Last week, we were to conduct an intervention yesterday, and the young man who we had to reach out to, he died the day before, and because of his addiction to alcohol. And we have someone to refer to the person we have online this evening. You'll be hearing her story, Natasha.
Yes, we have heard Beverly's story before on I Dependency, of course, and we did feature her in an earlier I Dependency TV series, and that's what we will be sharing with you this evening. So I hope you're tuned in to Facebook Live so you get to see what we're talking about and the amazing production from Oxygen Productions and the late Robert Braffett and his team. But
can I interject a minute?
Sure.
I just want to say to the radio listeners, we always show appreciation for you because this is how we started. And we from time to time try to describe things to you, from the top of our heads and what we know. But now we decided that we can show you. And this is one of the things that COVID did, help us to get innovative. Yeah. And this way now we can show you the drugs and the paraphernalia that we've been speaking about all along. Of course, you'll get to see Beverly's story. You'll have her story as a little bit of things recreated to enhance the story so that you can understand. And there'll be a panel discussion in it, just 2 minutes, 3 minute segments. But we want you to see. We want you to get your daughter, especially, to listen to Beverly this evening. Because since we've started our Dependency, a lot of women have been caught up with a lot of drugs and they've been made slaves, literally. Some of them are on the streets already. And Beverly will. So this is why we would like you very much, if you can ask your child to show you the Dependency Facebook page on their device, or your desktop or laptop, whatever you have access to. We urge you to do it because we want to show you, and even again, we'll show you the paraphernalia and the drugs that we are about to describe to you and Beverly will be speaking about. We want to bring you reality. It's the reality. Substance abuse knows no bounds. Substance abuse destroying a lot of our youngsters, especially now. And later on, we will refer to that as we get into the program. Natasha, you introduce Beverly for us?
Yes, we have her on the line right now, Beverly Morson, who is the director of Serenity Place in Empowerment Center for Women. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Josh. Good evening, Natasha. Good evening to all in the studio and to our listeners.
Beverly, you're no stranger to Dependency.
Of
course not. I'm happy to be here. I feel honored.
Thank you very much. We feel honored that you accept as well. And we want to have this brief chat so we can get people organized. And then we'll take a break. And then when we come back, we'll start the first episode or the first part of your story. Beverly, just for the record, a lot of women out there are in trouble, but they're silent, and you know why. Yes, we have a lot of women suffering in silence, as you have said before. We have a lot of them, especially now with the COVID. We have closet drinkers, women suffering and choose to drink it at home, choose to drown their sorrows in drink, using alcohol and some marijuana and different types of drugs. We have the rise in domestic violence because they're home now and they're taking the abuse, and they seem to think that the only way out is to take that drink. It's really, really really, really sad to know that women out there, so many of them, and some of them don't know how to reach out for help. They don't know where to turn. They don't have any support systems in place, and people think that they're just useless. They will drink for the rest of their life, or they will smoke for the rest of their life, It is very, very sad, guys.
Beverly, you are the director of one of only a couple, I think, or a few treatment facilities for women in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, in Trinidad, it's Palo Seco, run by New Life Ministries, and Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women.
There you go. And there should be many more of your kind of facilities because
of course,
the access that women have to treatment, and as you mentioned, women are less likely to seek help because of their other responsibilities, right?
Yes, that is so true because they are mothers, they are wives, they're homemakers, they work out also in the field, they go out there, they do other jobs, so women, they're less likely to seek help, especially one of the major reasons is because of their kids. Because they think, if I'm going to help, who's going to take care of my kids?
Yep.
Even though it may appear that they're not taking care of them in some cases while they're using the drugs. But when they have to go to stay in an institution for a period of time, they know they're not going to be seeing their kids regularly, and that is very sad. We need a program that can treat women from a holistic approach, including their children and their spouse.
Yep.
Okay, Beverly. So what we'll do, as I said, we'll give people, we're going to take a break. So you stay on the line. We're going to take a break and give people a chance to call someone who they know has a child who should be listening to this program or looking on this evening. And when we return, we'll go straight to the first part of your story because you have a story to tell as well. And of course we go through it, and then of course we'll speak with you.
Okay, thank you.
Before the end of the program.
Yes.
All right?
Yes,
so,
sir.
Folks, let's take a break. Get yourself together. Please, you need to hear this. We'll be right back.
This is reality radio at its best. Eye on Dependency on I-95.5 FM.
Garth St. Clair, Natasha Nunez. Eye on Dependency. On air and everywhere on I-95.5. The most influential name in radio.
Agricola is back with loan promotions that will make you go wow! Wow! The computer and internet bundle CIB loan. Get a maximum of $15,000 with just a 0.75% interest rate. Call or come into our offices at Pro Queen Street, Arima, 667-7633. Pamela's Mall, Marabella, 219-7745. Scarborough, Tobago, 639-6468. Or Port of Spain, 627-3127. Agricola Credit Union, your very own, working for you.
Young women and girls are being forced to work in the sex trade all over the world. They're exploited by human traffickers who trick them with false promises of well-paid jobs. Some are held like prisoners. They're beaten, even raped. Do you know anyone at risk? Warn them of the dangers. This could be your daughter, your sister, or your friend. Make sure it isn't you. This is Julia Ormond, Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime.
Child labor is when I cannot go to school, play with friends, go to the beach, go to the movies, ride my bike, rollerblade, or do other fun activities because I am forced to work. Report child labor to the Labor Inspectorate at 299-0300, option 3, or Childline at 131 or 800-4321.
I'm Marva, and you listen to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago. Don't be a fool and be a mule.
Eye on Dependency. Eye on Dependency, where every life is a biography. On the Eye, 95.5, the most influential name in radio.
Right, thank you for staying with us, folks. So without further ado, once our producer is ready on the other end,
we can start with part 1 of this episode. This was episode 4 of the Eye on Dependency TV series featuring Beverly Morson, and as God said, it is based on Beverly's telling of her story, plus a panel discussion with some knowledgeable women about what we have seen based on Beverly's re-encounter of her story. So enjoy this, part 1. It's about 6 minutes long, and when it's finished, we will come back with Beverly to chat about what we saw.
welcome to Independency TV. I'm Garth St. Clair.
And I'm Natasha Nunez St. Clair.
Today, we delve into the life of Miss Beverly Morson, who is the manager of the Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women down there in Cochrane Village in Point Fortin. To discuss Beverly's life with us, we have on our panel Miss Anna De Silva, who is the assistant manager at Serenity Place and just recently retired acting coordinator of the National Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Program, NADAP, that is Miss Wendy Ann Watty.
Let's hear now from Beverly Morson.
Based on my experience, over the past 21 years since I'm in the business of treating with women, substance abusers, there are many women who abuse different types of drugs in this country. Most of them are alcohol. Most alcohol and cocaine are the popular drugs. However, within the last, like I said, 20 years, women don't present for treatment as regular as men. They stay outside, they are more closet users, they stay in their homes and stuff like that, and drink. So by the time they present for treatment, they become very chronic users at that point. Some of the signs would be that from the time you see her start to slack on her responsibilities, that's when you have to start questioning. You may have a family gathering at the home, and then she would be the one who would want to always go fix the drinks, go get the drinks, and you would find drinks missing, the drink is finishing so quickly, and you're wondering, well, what's happening? So you start to question, you start to find out what's going on. You look at her tardiness, you look at how she you know, in the home, and when everybody is gone, she's still sitting there drinking. You know, these are some of the things that you would look at and you would notice that there is a problem, something is wrong. Crack use is a lot less, it's a lot, you know, it's not as prominent to identify as alcohol, because it takes a long time for somebody who's using crack for the family to notice. Simply because in crack use, there are people who eat and drink and go on, you know, the signs are not so clear, you know. A person may be using crack, let's say, for about 3, 4, 5 months before it is detected, you know, because people go on with their lives. But when you see they start to become, again, irresponsible, you know, they start to lose weight. One of the things that is a symptom of crack use is the loss of weight. You start to find things missing in the home. You start to, you know, you can't put down your purse. You see things, you know, new things that you would have in the home, a bottle of wine, or, you know, perfume, or things that new they would start taking and selling.
So Wendy, you heard Beverly mention the fact that women are more reluctant to seek help when they realize they have a problem. Why do you think it is that women, as opposed to men, are more likely to hide their addiction, or why persons in their family or immediate surroundings don't pick up on these signs and symptoms?
Well, Natasha, society tends to judge women more harshly than men, you know, and that's I think that is the essentially the reason why dysfunctional behavior concerning women are hidden, and it is something even in the family. Mm-hmm. If the family members recognize that something is going wrong with a female member, they too hide the fact that there's drinking, there's substance abuse, you know, and that is because they may be ashamed. Women should be seen and not heard. Women should behave in a certain way, and drinking or the abuse of drugs and even alcohol, you know, is not appropriate for women, and it is hidden. So that is why women become closet drinkers, because it is an issue that need to be kept a secret if there is a problem.
Because we are seen as being too strong and capable to deal with our problems, and not turn to drugs or alcohol to mask it or to treat with it.
Yeah. Anna, tell us, what would make some female finally come out and admit there's a problem and try to get that help?
Well, many things could make make a person come to that point. Being tired of the drugs, family embarrassment, you know, a whole lot of stuff that Wendy Ann spoke about. The stigma attached to women is really bad in this country. You know, in my experience, I had enough of the drug. I am also part of the substance abuse family. You know, I had enough. I got tired of it. The drugs were not doing anything for me anymore, so I made my decision then and there.
But as a female, still you would have done a lot of damage by then to family and stuff.
Oh yes, today I am still trying to mend the damage that I have done to my family and friends, and you know, to Trinidad and Tobago, because it was a very bad situation.
Let's go to a break now, and when we come back, we hear about Beverly Morson's life story.
I too had been involved in drug use for 25 plus years. I started at age 10 plus. And I stayed out there. I live on the street, live in a cemetery, eat out of the garbage, you know, that kind of thing. As a child, my mother died when I was 5 years old. So I grew up practically with my grandmother. My early childhood was one of poverty and incest and rape and all of that, because it was a dysfunctional home, single parenting, that kind of thing. But my mother and grandmother's value system was about education. So in the home, it was about licks and school and licks. You didn't study, you didn't work hard, you didn't come first in tests, it was licks. When I failed my common entrance examination at that time, I sat it twice. And I failed both times. And my grandmother beat me for a whole year straight. Every time she remembered that I failed, she would, I'll send you to school, and that's what you do, and it would be licks. My mother died. My mother I was 5 years old, and I actually witnessed my mother bleed to death. She was pregnant, and the baby died in her. And by the time they rushed her to the hospital, I was there standing with the door open, and the doctors trying to get her to stay alive, and she was just bleeding as fast as they gave her blood, you know, and I was just 5 years old at the time. There was one day my grandmother beat me, something I did, and she gave me a good cutting, and she had this habit, when she beat me, she would send me to the shop. And this day when my grandmother beat me and sent me to the shop, when I came out the door, there was this girl who lived next door. She was much older than me, and she said, I just hear you get licks. Come. And I was so happy that this girl spoke to me. You know, I was so glad. I felt so good. I went to her and asked her what she wanted. And she said, come and go with me. And she took me to this abandoned building. And under the building, there was a room. And there was these guys, when we went in, there was these guys sitting in a circle, smoking marijuana in what you call a chillum. And they invited us to sit in the circle with our legs crossed, and they just passed it around, and that was my introduction to smoking marijuana, you know. And it continued from there. Every opportunity, every chance I got, I ran away and went there to smoke marijuana. Some days I would skip school.
So Wendy, Anna, we just heard about Beverly's very traumatic early childhood and the fact that her grandmother, who she was living with, used corporal punishment to discipline her, I suppose. What do you think the impact of that kind of treatment of children at that age has on an individual?
Well, Beverly's trauma started very, very early. At the age of 5, I cannot understand how she was exposed to situations that were adult. There was the image of the mother being pregnant and the blood. That alone is a traumatic experience for a young child, a 5-year-old, yes. And she lost as a result of that experience. She saw her mother die, and she lost the person who appeared to be closest to her, somebody who was close, somebody who could provide her with love. And after that, subsequent to that, she went into a home where she was beaten for things that she had no control over. There were lots of expectations of her from very young, and it doesn't seem as if she was given an opportunity to be a child, you know, to play, to listen to music, to have somebody listen to her experiences. How was your day at school? What happened? It doesn't appear that there was any of that. And those are the kinds of experiences that children need. I didn't get the impression that Beverly's grandmother even knew that she was exposed to abusive situations. And worse, it would seem as though somebody who was outside of the house, somebody outside of the family, heard her getting licks and sought to draw her into a situation where she would feel comfortable. She would feel that that environment of being safe, being protected, and being cared for. And that is the situation. That is what attracted Beverly, a situation where she felt as if somebody was welcoming her, somebody was going to give her that kind of love, that kind of time that she so needed to share love and to share an experience with.
Let's hear now about the very tragic circumstances that led Beverly to move from marijuana to crack cocaine.
You'll hear, you'll hear about that after the break coming up. So we hope you understand where we're heading with this. And if you know people growing up in these circumstances, we know there are people growing up in these circumstances.
Especially due to COVID, right? I heard somebody talk about the number of children who are not going to school at this time. So if that is just one indicator of what is going on in people's homes and the risk that that young people, children, women and girls run in terms of using drugs and alcohol to cope with their circumstances.
And there are a lot of misdirected anger as well. Let's go to the break. That's 5 and 6 short man, and from there, and then when we return, we go to C&D and continue the story. It gets more and more interesting, and as I said, if you know someone who should be listening to this, please share it with them. We'll be back.
You're listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Reality radio at its best.
Garth St. Clair, Natasha Nunez. Eye on Dependency. On air and everywhere on I-95.5. The most influential name in radio.
Go sona! I come in and don't give me no attitude there.
You have Shiana manners, boy. I wish I had your touch, boy.
You have to groom them. First, you have to target them. Scope them out. See if they have low self-esteem. Family problems, you know? Then you move in and gain the trust.
I like your glasses.
After that, you feel a need. Some of them like nice things like fancy phones, hairdos, clothes, food. It have ones who only looking for somebody to care and listen to the problems. You feel me? What's important though, you have to isolate them from the people. Let them believe it's all about you and them.
I care about you.
Then you get through.
Nice.
Look one right here. Try thing now.
A message from the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Tareas domésticas no es trabajo infantil.
Doing household chores is not child labor.
Lavar los platos, limpiar su cuarto, recoger los juguetes y realizar otras tareas que fortalecen su personalidad en casa no es trabajo infantil. Esas tareas enseñan a los niños a ser responsables y les preparan para la vida adulta.
Doing the dishes, cleaning their bedrooms, packing up toys, and carrying out other character-building tasks at home is not child labor. These chores teach children to be responsible and prepare them for when they become older.
Denuncio el trabajo infantil a la Unidad de Inspección de Trabajo en el 200-99-0300 opción 3 o Childline en 131 o en la 800-4321. Un mensaje del Ministerio de Trabajo.
Report child labor to the Labor Inspectorate at 299-0300 option 3 or Childline at 131 or 800-4321. A message from the Ministry of Labor.
Agricola is back with loan promotions that will make you go wow! Wow! 60 to 40 loan. For new members or members with no loan, get a maximum of $300,000 with just a 1% interest rate. Call or come into our offices at Pro Queen Street, Arima, 667-7633. Pamela's Mall, Marabella, 219-7745. Scarborough, Tobago, 639-6468. Or Port of Spain, 627-3127. Agricola Credit Union, your very own, working for you.
My name is Joanne Ferdinand. I am a Justice of the Supreme Court in New York State, and you are listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you for staying with us. This is Eye on Dependency, and we are live on I-95.5 FM and on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page. And this is episode 4 of Eye on Dependency for 2021, and we are leafing through the diary of a recovered addict who is Beverly Morson.
Yes, so we'll go back to her story, and it gets deeper and deeper as we go along. It speaks to a lot of trauma, and sometimes we wonder how this female could have survived what she'd been through.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back to the story. Beverly Morson.
I left school when I was in Form 3 because the children in school, I followed all the crowd that was doing the wrong things. Those who were staying away from school, breaking bisha, so we called, and I would get involved with them, smoke marijuana, lime, do everything that was negative and was wrong. By age 17, I had my first son. By age 19, I had my second son. And it was at 19, I was introduced to a family who was selling drugs. They were selling cocaine in powder form. And so when I was introduced to that, I was introduced actually to do a domestic job for these people. But I always used to see the traffic going and coming. I didn't know anything about cocaine yet because it was just about alcohol and marijuana and cigarettes. And so when they invited me and I got there and they told me one day they went out and they said they want me to sell this, and they showed me what to do. And so I did it. When they got home and they saw the profit that I made, they gave me a full-time job. I was now working for $1,000 a week, and I had free access to food stuff in the grocery and stuff like that. So I practically lived by this family. This was in Jackson Place, Port of Spain. So my life continued. I got involved in several relationships because my two sons is for two different fathers. And then I got involved with this other relationship while I was selling the drugs. And this guy, promised to take care of me and stuff like that. And that was happening until he decided he wanted to go away for a holiday. And I said, no problem. But while I was selling drugs, I was, saving the money with him. And he said, we'll save it in a joint account. But my focus was so much on the drugs and selling the drugs and the whole glamorous lifestyle. I didn't pay attention that to open a joint account, you had to, do stuff. You had to go to the bank together with the individual. So I left it and he went away with most of my money. And about a month later, his mother called me and told me he was married. I didn't know how to deal with that. I didn't know what to do. The people I was smoking more. And the people who I was selling drugs for, the lady, she said, she came and she saw me crying and in a mess. And she said, why are you crying? Don't worry about that. When I told her what happened, she said, don't worry about that man. It have more fishes in the sea. Stop worrying about him. He done gone already. And that is when she introduced me to crack cocaine. And there, my life became a living hell. The feeling I got from that drug, I became a vagrant searching for and never got again. And I sold my soul to crack my brain. I don't know, my big son, he would come, Mommy, we hungry, because I would have sold everything in the house. Mommy, we hungry. Can I go by uncle and get $5 so we could buy a bread so we could eat? I didn't think about that. So I was glad for his thought. And he went by uncle and told uncle a story, and uncle gave him $5, and he came back. And I took the $5 and I said, let me go and buy the bread. And I left and never went back. I had a daughter before that. She was 3 years old and she swallowed a chenet seed and she died. And when that happened, I didn't know how to deal with that, so I continued smoking. My life continued like that, and I used to just sell everything. If I could have sold my children, I would have.
Anna, I picked up there from Beverly a little bit of rebellion to start with. That actually, for me, is what triggered the whole domino effect. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I saw it. Let's face it, after being a product of corporal punishment, you will rebel at some point in time.
Right.
That is a must. You know, what we do with that rebelliousness is what makes the difference. Mm-hmm. Now, Beverly went full head first. First.
Yes.
You know, because, I mean, she felt that there was nobody for her.
Right.
You know, everything was licks, and, you know, she talked about the boyfriend leaving to go on a holiday, and she was betrayed by that because he went with all her money, and that could send somebody over the edge, you know. So she just went ahead and she got a solution. Her employer came to her and said, don't worry about it. You know, we have something that would pass the pain. And that was just the start.
Wendy, do you think that pain was, you know, bubbling under the surface all along, and this event of her boyfriend, you know, leaving her and going with all her money, that was a sort of a breaking point for her?
Natasha, I see Beverly's life as a cycle. Her journey is one of a search for love and acceptance. And as she grows older, she's experiencing, for example, she said she had her first child at age 16, 17. You know, she's searching for love and acceptance. And she views her esteem is built up on what others believe her or see her or accept her to be.
Or could get from her, I guess.
She's trying to get away from her own mixed feelings, her own, you know, bundle of pain. So there were other male experiences, again, looking for love and acceptance and appreciation in the eyes of others. Her introduction to or her escalation in drug use, her introduction to marriage. And we also have to think in terms of her physical being as a female, because drug use is also, it becomes more intense or worse if you are a male and a female. There are differences in male drugging and female drugging, and the impact upon their whole physical being. As a female, she's more susceptible to becoming addictive faster as a female. Her age too, she's a young woman,
a mother.
Her frame, she may have also been smaller at that size when she was younger. So she's more susceptible. So she's more inclined to become addicted faster than a man would. So her introduction to cocaine was not only a cracking experience for her brain, it was an entirely cracking experience for her body, you know. So it was not only, it was It was physical, it was mental, it was environmental.
Well, it got even more traumatic for Beverly. So let's hear more of her story.
So we're gonna go straight to the next clip, short man, which is part 4.
Yes, so
one night I remember I was standing outside in the rain. This is 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm waiting for somebody to pass because I'm desperate for a smoke. And I'm waiting for somebody to pass to give me a smoke. There was this girl who was the Dan in the village, and she was in control of all the drug addicts and stuff like that. And she pulled up in her car and said, "What you doing here?" And I said, "Oh gosh, Paula, give me a smoke, please now." And she said, "Come," and I jumped in the car. She and 3 guys. They went up to the pusherman. They bought some drugs, and they started to smoke while by the pusherman. And then they moved on and they continued smoking. And she said, "Come, go." And all this time, I'm begging, "Give me a smoke now," but they're not giving me any. They're smoking. And she said, "Don't worry, you'll get smoke. You'll get real smoke. Come on, go." And they drive and drive, and they continue driving until they turn off. And then they came to a stop to an abandoned pavilion. And the 2 of the guys stayed in the car, the girl, myself, and one of the guys came out, and we went up on the step where it was overgrown with bush and stuff like that. And we sat down there, and she said, "Well, yes, we will smoke here." And they started smoking, and they're smoking, and I'm begging. And then the drugs finished, and she sent the guy in the car to get some more drugs. But he took a while before he come back, and he wasn't coming back. When she realized that, she said, "Let me go and see what they're doing with my drugs. They must be smoking out all in the car." And when she went down to the car, they just drive off and left. What she left me with was the stem and the matches. So I didn't know what to do. Here I am, not knowing where I am, in a short top and a short pants and barefooted. And I was lost. And I decided that I have to get out of here. How? I don't know. But I started walking. And so I was walking and walking and walking. And then I heard voices and I saw a light. And I said, I was praying, I was asking God to help me to get out of here. And when I heard the voices, I stood up. And when they become closer, there was 5 men. They were hunting in the bushes. And they asked me what I was doing there. And I told them my story. And they said, "Okay, we will help you." And their way of helping me, each of them took turns in raping me. And they left me at the side of the track. And I managed to drag myself up and got up and started walking again. Battered, beaten, bruised, and I started walking again. And as I walked, and there's bush, I'm not hearing anything. Then I saw another light, and I said, "Thank you, God, this person will help me, whoever it is." And this was another hunter. And when I told him what had happened and the guys had raped me, I told him everything, and he said, "Don't worry, I'll help you get out." And we started walking, and he told me to come, let's go through this track, and he was giving me directions and stuff like that. And then he stopped, and he said, "I think it's my turn now." And he too raped me. And I got up again, dragged myself up, and then I started walking again. But this time it was clearing up, and I was hearing the traffic on the road. And so I followed the traffic, and then I came out, and there was road, but there was cane field on 2 sides, so I didn't know where I was. And I started stopping, traffic that was passing, but I was looking terrible, and bare feet and looking in a mess, and nobody wanted to stop until this pickup vehicle stopped. And I told him that I wanted to go to Arima. I didn't know where I was. When I asked him where I was, he told me Karoni. I couldn't understand how from Arima I'll end up in Karoni. Anyway, he said, "Okay, I will help you to get there." And he did. He helped me, and he dropped me right directly in front of the road to go where I lived. And I thank God for that. But that wasn't enough to make me stop. I continued to use even after those episodes, because it wasn't enough to make me stop. To the pain of going through all that trauma, I couldn't live with myself, so I had to use it. The drugs was the escape. I didn't want to feel that. I didn't want to deal with that. And so I continued to use more.
Wendy, that was some very, very heavy stuff. I'm forced to wonder whether women have a higher tolerance for pain. But what did you make of what you just heard?
Natasha, with increased drug use, Beverly's life seemed to be just escalating out of control. She lost, and also full of anomalies. Losing a child. She spoke about losing a child because she swallowed a chenet seed. And then with further drug use, she reaches this stage in her life where she would sell her child for drugs. When she talks about that need, that urge for the drugs, right along her journey, she seems to be wanting the drugs, and she appears to trust people, in very delicate situations that where her life was in jeopardy. She always appeared to be trusting people. She was raped by 5 men, and then there was she got up again. She got up again and she walked, and then she was raped by somebody who she chose to place additional trust in, and she, and she got up again, even though she was conscious of her appearance. She got up and she walked, and she prayed that she would reach to a destination or a place where somebody would offer her some genuine help, would reach out and help her in a genuine way. So that there was always something going for Beverly. There was always a glimmer of hope. There always seemed to be light at the end of the tunnel, which Beverly at the time of her drug use did not. She did not recognize opportunities. Even the time where the length of the journey, wherever she didn't know where she was going, that was an opportunity to change her mind about whatever she was going to do. She could have said, let me out of the car, I changed my mind. But there were always these opportunities. There were always these little glimmers of hope, glimmers of light that Beverly did not utilize. She continued to trust in God. She always said, God help me, but she never really reached out in a way. But it was sufficient to carry Beverly through.
Anna, can you speak to the kinds of places and the vulnerabilities that women face in particular in their search for drugs?
Wow. It's terrible. It is terrible. And Beverly is sharing her story from 25 years back, maybe 50 years back kind of thing, and it's even worse now. You're getting into a car with a group of druggies and you're going wherever. You'd have no idea where you're going to, but you're going just because you want that drug. And that is the driving force. And people have no concern as to the danger involved. We're finding women cut in half and chopped up and stuffed with barrels, etc. And one wonders how they get to that point, because the drug system in this country is really bad, and women just out here looking for love.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to hear about the light at the end of the tunnel. There's some good news out of all of this. We'll be back. All right, folks, well, you heard that journey. Of course, we'll tell you about how Beverly got clean, Natasha. It was kind of traumatic listening that again.
Yes. I was just going to say it's traumatic every time, we hear it, and maybe we should have issued a disclaimer before we played that clip, but because it may be re-traumatizing to some people. But
I mean, for Beverly to hear it again too, Yeah. But when we speak to Beverly, I would like to know about the woman who set her up and those men if they're still alive or if they heard anything about them. And I'm hoping that one or two of them still alive and listening to this program. I know that was you that Beverly was just speaking about. And it blows my mind to know that 5 men could do that to a young girl, a child who could be their grandchild, and then meet another one. And we have a lot of beasts walking out here, normal, and we'll go home and play with the grandchildren, normal after that. And you could imagine the smell, the stench from this, because they were hunting, and of course I'm sure drinking.
Yes.
And that can really leave someone traumatized. It's amazing to me that Beverly didn't turn out to be a serial killer. I mean, or a hater of men so much that she would actually, like some women, if they get an infection that way, they just spread it around to other men because of what she experienced there. Beverly now turned that into helping others.
Yeah.
Folks, if you're listening to this, please, you have some time still to join us after this break on the Independency Facebook page, because we're going to bring Beverly back in and show you some of the paraphernalia that if you see it around the home, you will recognize it. And you know what to do, and you'll hear from Beverly if you have a daughter experiencing this right now, because this is not made up. I have seen it, or I've been out there myself. I've seen what men do to women out there who on crack. I'm telling you, I've seen it with my eyes. And sometimes I wonder, why would a man do that to a woman, knowing that? But that's how they get the satisfaction. They know she would come at some point, and some of them carry woman in the back, clean her up, and have their way with them, or they do it right there in front of everybody to show them match. They know how I could control this, and look what I could make her do, and she will drop to her knees right there. It's sad. It's happening to this day. We're going to take a break and return with the final part of Beverly's story, and then we'll hook up with her again. And then we have a piece to show you on childhood trauma, what it's really like, from an actual young lady who was out there herself as a child. You wouldn't believe that story. Trust me. Sometimes I tell you I'm ashamed to belong to the family of man. We'll be back.
Garth St. Clair, Natasha Nunez. Eye on Dependency. On air and everywhere on I-95.5. The most influential name in radio.
Ah boy. I feel like I'm gonna buy myself a senorita tonight.
Nah. You know you might be promoting slavery.
Slavery? What are you talking about?
Hey, modern day slavery or human trafficking is just what some of these people just do. You know some of these women were tricked to come here? Some are held against their will, abused, and even beaten. Most times the girls don't even see any of the money that is paid for them. And every night, they just have to come out looking nice and sexy for somebody like you. Human trafficking is a serious problem and a serious crime. Persons who solicit commercial sex services may be contributing to human trafficking. A message from the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security.
Most forms of child labor include child sex trafficking, child prostitution, child pornography, child soldering, trafficking in drugs, hazardous work, and dangerous work. This applies to children who are under 18 years of age. If you spot or suspect this is happening, report it to the Counter-Trafficking Unit at 800-4288 or the Labor Inspectorate at 299-0300, option 3.
Guys, hold on to it, raise your hands, call for help. Eating. Whenever you have a meal, wait 1 hour before venturing into swimming again. Lightning. If there's lightning and you're in the water, you need to get out immediately. Alcohol. Alcohol and water do not mix. Whenever you consume alcohol, you should not engage in swimming. It impairs your judgment, this damages your coordination. Learn to swim. Remember, be water wise and save lives.
Stephen Clark. I am a justice in the Ontario Court of Justice in Toronto, Canada, and you are listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago.
All right, thank you for staying with us. We are just at the end of Beverly's story as told on the Eye on Dependency TV series from 2017, and if you're listening to us on I-95.5 FM, we thank you for listening, for staying tuned and sticking with us. And if you're tuned in on Facebook, on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page, we welcome you as well. The last part of this story is about 2.5 minutes long, and it's basically, as was said in the end of the last clip, the light at the end of the tunnel. This is how Beverly managed to break free of the addiction and turn her life around in such a way that she's now opened her arms and her heart to help others break free of the addiction.
Thank you for staying with us. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's some good news coming out of all of this, despite what you've heard. So let's hear from Beverly again with that good news.
I used to live in the cemetery, and when I leave the cemetery, I would go back to the house, sometimes 3 weeks after, just to see what I could find to sell. And one day I went back to the house, and searching to see what could be there to sell, I saw my little daughter. She was just 3 years old, and there she was with the paraphernalia, the pipe in her mouth. I don't know where she found a stem because my carelessness left it somewhere, and she was with the toilet paper and the match, and she was just about to light. And that was my rude awakening. I said, oh my God, I am creating an addict out of my own daughter. And it was at that point I snatched it from her and I ran out the house. And I said to myself, I had to stop. I had to find a way to stop. And so I went to New Life Ministries. I spent 3 months residential in the program. And at the end of 3 months, I left New Life Ministries, not having anywhere to go again, because I did not want to go back to my environment. And so New Life Ministries found a halfway house that I can stay in. By that time, they brought my little girl with me, so she had to go in the halfway house with me. And I stayed there, and then I got a job, and I moved on from there. I got involved in a relationship again, and then I had 2 daughters. And then one day I was introduced, the gentleman from New Life Ministries and another Sister Paul called me, and the relationship I was involved in with the 2 daughters, Mr. Cole, he used to work at Rebirth House. And they asked us if we wanted to open a treatment center, if we wanted to run a treatment center for women, because there was, at the time, no center opened for female drug addicts. And a lot of females presented to Sister Paul with the problem. And after much deliberation, we took up the challenge. We decided yes. And this was March 1996, we opened Serenity Place.
Right, folks.
So that's it.
That's where Beverly's at now.
Mm-hmm.
And we in a moment we want to show you again drug paraphernalia that you should be familiar with, because I described crack cocaine in so many ways for you, but now you get a chance to see it, what it looks like, you hear Beverly talk about the stem or the pipe, And imagine walking into a room and seeing your daughter with a crack pipe, imitating what she saw you doing. And this is how things pass on from generation to generation. So we're going to put up the pictures, Shortman, put up the pictures now, and so that people can see. Keep this up there for a while. This is the top left, that's somebody freebasing there. On the top right, well, in the middle of that, you see there's crack rocks. That's what the crack rocks look like. And a crack pipe can be fashioned out of anything. This guy fashioned his out of a syringe. So, could get very creative. This drug can make you get very creative. And then there's another way at the bottom left. There's another way of smoking crack cocaine. And sometimes when you hear a report of someone being arrested with paraphernalia, this is what it means. Especially the bottom left, the bottom right, that's what the crack pipe looks like. And of course, people would have graduated to other means of doing it, because there's the burner now that can be used.
Burner?
The Bunsen burner, yeah. Well, the torch, sorry. You know, that portable hand torch that you can use to instead of the lighter.
Okay.
Then there are pills involved now as well. Parents, and sometimes, Natasha, I see certain reaction from people, and I'll ask Beverly this when we get her back. I sometimes see some videos being shared now of people committing robberies. And folks, sometimes I ask myself, if I had that in me back then, or if I had access to guns back then, or was of like mind, if I would have done the same thing. The problem is, we don't have a data collecting base here in this country. So people commit these crimes, but I would move around during the day, and somebody leave a purse in a car, or any valuable, I would take it starting from home. I stole almost everything from home. But I never robbed anyone, thank God, never put any gun or knife to anybody's neck. Couldn't bring myself to that. But I had to get crack. And what I'm seeing now, I often wonder if some of these guys have not been introduced to these drugs and become addicted to it. Because remember, marijuana and crack cocaine, they're two different responses. And for me, smoking a crack rock in a black cigarette was like 10 to 15 seconds of pleasure. And as that was done, there was a crash and I had to go get it again. And I just couldn't stop. Just could not stop. So this is what the device looks like. This is what the crack rock looks like. And we have it up on the screen now. Take a good look. So in case, and foil paper, you check your child pocket or bag and you see pieces of foil paper, that should raise a red flag. So Beverly, you there? Good. Thank you for joining us again.
Yes.
Right. So Beverly, there are a lot of things that running through my mind. One thing I remember, when a lot of mothers expose their children to these situations and expose them to predators, because some of them in the area know, look, you're on drugs and you have a daughter. Chances are they could go after your daughter when you're not around, and chances are your daughter could pick up the habit too as well.
Of course, these are things that happen. Those are realities. I know of many women who, they using the drug, and some women, give their daughter, sell their daughter to get the drug. Under the influence of drugs, you do anything just to get that high.
Shortman, go to the next picture. Beverly, I wanted to look at sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Beverly, tell us about your relationship with your children now, as it is now that you're clean.
Well, Tasha, I have a great relationship with my kids now. They all know my story. They know where I am. Actually, 3 of my 3 daughters live with me. My sons, unfortunately, are 2 alcoholics. One live in the States and one live not too far from me. But my daughters, I have a great relationship. The one who was 3 years old, Masha, she lives and she has 4 kids, but she suffered. She has seizures because of my drug use during the pregnancy.
Right.
She ended up with a cyst in her brain that is a part of her brain that was not fully developed, and it's accumulating fluid, so she has to stay on meds for the rest of her life. And she cannot live on her own. So she's with me, and my other 2 daughters, they're doing very well. I'm very proud of my kids, and they love me. They show me love in many different ways, and I know that they understand. And like I tell them, I'm the best example of what drugs can do to anybody.
Yep.
So if they choose that road, they know where they will end up.
Right. So what we have up on the screen now, we had the cocaine powder. Now we have the ever popular cannabis plant with a roach clip on the top right hand corner. As you see, that's another device. It looks like a scissors. But anything, you could use anything. Tweezers, I see people put matchsticks together and smoke a roach before. But they can get very creative. And also, the one that can attract children is the next picture you would see coming up here, which is, and then the LSD that they can then place on the tongue and swallowed. And next week we'll be, of course, show you that marijuana brownie and cookie. I heard an adult made a comment, or read a comment from an adult, said that if you want a near-death experience, eat a brownie or a cookie. And I mean, I could just imagine, because again, people give you these things to eat and not tell you how to eat it and how you must eat it. Somebody asked a question, do these halfway homes advertise so that more women can reach out to them? Should there be more of these, Beverly?
Yes, of course, there should be. There should be. Serenity Place and New Life Ministries are the only 2 that we know of right now. And Serenity Place has a Facebook page, but I think we lack advertising. I think we're not out there enough. People don't know much about us. As this is Mr. Cole would say, Serenity Place is sort of like a best-kept secret. So we need to be out there a little more. We need to do some work on putting ourselves in the front line a little more.
Yes, and some of those halfway houses are actually used for domestic violence survivors.
Yes,
so advertising their location is not often recommended. Yes.
It's not the ideal thing.
Yeah, correct.
Because the men find them, and then
that's right.
The whole cycle continues.
Right. So the picture you see now, it's these are the what we term disaster drugs or disaster pills, but see how fancy and pretty they look, and
attract the young kids.
Attract young people.
Someone is asking, Bianca's asking, Beverly, I would like to know who taught you about God. I think this is so important because it's what gave her so much hope.
Well, when I was with my grandmother, she used to send us to church, the Catholic Church, the Cathedral in Port of Spain. My brother and I, we used to go to church, but when my brother would always send me and he would stay, and when church over, I will have to come and meet him and to go back home. So my grandmother that was one of the values. She said church was important and we must go to church and we must pray. So that's where, for me, the onset of God came.
Gotcha.
Now, somebody's asking, these men, Dion said, these men who should have assisted her and raped her, warned to them. We talk about that a minute, Bev. Somebody wants to know how long would be the detox process and how successful is a detox process?
Well, detox depends on
the drug.
To individual. That would go from person to person because the drug affects different people in the many different ways. And for alcoholics, some alcoholics would need a medical setting for detoxing based on the level of use. And with regards to crack cocaine, it's less likely to go into a medical setting because it's more they eat and sleep, and the detox period is more of eating and sleeping, to build back their bodies. So it is much easier, a bit easier for crack cocaine users in a detox situation than the alcoholics who go through DTs and they go through a very deep state of depression and all of that. So it's harder for them, and most times they have to go into a medical setting for a short period before they go into the institution for treatment.
Yeah, we were talking about that just last night, Beverly, about the fact that I don't think our hospitals are equipped to deal with or to help alcoholics, especially to detox. I mean, they can't just go to a hospital and say, I need to detox.
Well, what I know is that they go to Ward 1 right now. We have Ward 1 in San Fernando.
Okay.
They have a substance abuse area there. They treat with substance abusers, and they, so if an alcoholic needs severe detoxing, they would go there.
Right.
But we really don't have facilities to accommodate all the issues that surrounding drug use.
Now, somebody you spoke about your sons. Somebody's asking a question. Could you repeat that? Probably they didn't hear. If they want to know if your sons are on drugs, so they're okay.
Yes, my son, one is an alcoholic and lives in the States. He is in denial because he does not admit that he's an alcoholic. The other one, just as bad, and he lives not too far from me, but we don't have a relationship, which is my first son. We don't have a relationship. He doesn't come to me. We don't speak. I don't see him. I don't know.
Wow.
And most times, I don't even know where he is.
Wow. All right.
But
So
they
what?
are in denial. They don't admit that they are alcoholics. They think they just drink for pleasure.
Right. Right. So we have on the screen now something that we take for granted, but it's legal. Because it's legal, alcohol. Alcohol is a drug. It's a mood or mind altering substance. It's a drug. And notice that anytime there's a gathering of people, consumption of alcohol, 9 out of 10 times, or let me be conservative, 7 out of 10 times, there's a fight. Fight breaks out, and they just go after each other with this kind of venom, and yet we cannot understand why when it happened. Again, I am hoping that one day we can have a police unit that can have the permission to take blood from people or urine when they arrest them within a certain time period, so that we can start collecting data. Right now we operating blindly, and forensics, if they have the information, not releasing it to the public. But we would like to know, I would like to know, we on Independency would like to know what driving people to do what they do. Because most of the time when they head clear up and they're in a cell and that handcuffs on, then they realize what they've done.
What
stupidness they've done. And Beverly, there's another picture coming up here. Are you?
But before we go on to the next picture, you spoke a little bit about alcohol and women's use of alcohol a little earlier. Could you repeat or just tell us again why it might be so dangerous, particularly for women?
Yeah, Tash, because women become more closet drinkers. They drink in the home. And when they drink in the home, it's less likely for them to access help because nobody knows they're drinking.
Yeah.
Right? And they hide it very well.
Mm.
So they drink and they become chronic drinkers, and it's hardly likely they will present for help until they probably get some medical illness, heart problems, liver problems, or whatever, and have to end up in the hospital. And that's how you know then that it's alcohol is the cause, or they are on alcohol.
Yeah.
Women don't present for treatment as long as their bodies are in good working condition, as long as they can hide very well, they don't present.
Somebody want to know, can you see this picture we have on Facebook, Beverly?
Yes, I can.
Right. Does this picture look familiar, and is this a common thing among women crack users? Do they really do that? People ask the question.
Do they really use like this?
What you see in there, a mother smoking crack with a baby on the bed?
Yes, that happens. That happens. That is common. Some mothers, because you see, God, when you under the influence of this drug, when this drug take hold of you, the baby will be there crying and you using the drug because, it happened with me. You know, I tried to hide from my children, lock myself in a room, but my daughter was seeing me obviously because she was repeating what I did, you know. And then I didn't care at the time or care about whether she was around or not around, in the sense that I would be searching the ground and searching for this and searching to see where I could find money, what I could find to sell, and all of that. And and what about the issue where I leave them and go live in the cemetery, leave them hungry, no food? The neighbors would be telling them, calling them names and telling them, move from here, your mother is our piper, move from here, and they're hungry, right? And they're looking for something to eat, and the neighbors would run them from by them. And this happening, and I as a mother, this is my child, these are my children, and because of I am under the influence of the drug, I have no care and concern whether they eat or not. When my son got the $5, instead of I taking the $5 and buy bread for the children to eat, what did I do? I took it and I left the house and left them there hungry, unsupervised, uncared for, and I went to get my drug. The power of the drug, that was all my concern. I lived to use and used to live. My children didn't matter at the time. Once I'm under the influence of drugs, my children did not matter. Nobody mattered.
Not even yourself.
Of course, I didn't care. So this 6 year is a live experience of what women do. We do these things, and you know, after the drug is worn off, and somebody tell us or we realize what we have done, that pain, that embarrassment, that shame, that agony of what I as a mother have done to my kids, I cannot face it. I can't deal with it. So what do?
Use more
drugs to ease the pain.
And I think this is part of the stigma as well that is placed on women who use, because anyone looking at this would say, but how could she do that to her own child, you know? And that extra burden of responsibility and caring and nurturing that women are supposed to have is an extra burden, basically. And as well as having an addiction, you're supposed to be caring and nurturing to your children, not understanding that, you know, your addiction takes you out of that completely, that mindset.
Of course, but I'll say this, Natasha. Somewhere in a woman's mind, somewhere deep-seated in a woman's mind, she is still that mother, that caring mother, because she's using the drug, the baby is there. If somebody comes and tries to take that baby, she will latch on to that child because she knows that it is her child and she loves her child, but she cannot help herself.
Yep.
All right, so we want to make a connection here now with addiction and childhood trauma. So Shoban, go to that video, and maybe you could watch this along with us and tell us if this sounds familiar to you. And there are children in our society who are experiencing childhood trauma. There are those, especially in the depressed communities, and mothers misdirect and fathers misdirecting their anger. You name it, it's happening. So let's look at this video and tell us what you think. Those of you listening, give a close ear to what this child is saying. Shortman, go ahead.
Number one indicator of if someone is going to be an addict is childhood trauma.
I've been abused, I've been raped, I've been molested, I've been tortured.
Why do stories like this happen all the time?
My first time ever being raped, I was 5.
By who?
My foster parent. I remember him coming in the door. I remember everything. Me and my foster mom were just watching a movie. He walked in drunk. He had a cup of alcohol in his hand, and you know, he pretty much like asked me to come into the room or whatever. And with me being 5 years old, you know, I'm not expecting this or whatever. So like, he just grabbed me up and like covered my face and told me to be quiet and just did it. But like I said, I will have memories in my head of certain things as I'm getting older, and I'm like, why would I think these things if it didn't happen, you know?
That's another perfect example of like our foster system being so broken, especially with the addiction epidemic going on. You guys have to understand, like, we need more adoptive families, we need more foster families than ever before. There's so many children that are growing up, you know, without one of their parents, or they're growing up with, you know, dad overdosed or mommy overdosed. In fact, there's a greater correlation between childhood trauma and addiction than there is between sugar intake and diabetes. Now just think of that for a second. I'll say it again. You can predict whether someone's going to be an addict more accurately by their childhood than you can predict if someone's going to be a diabetic because they eat 5 donuts every day, right? Like, that blows my mind. We all know there's a direct correlation between that. And that's again why I say, like, is addiction really a choice? When you have a horrible childhood and you're trying to cover up that pain and you don't know how to deal with that pain, is that really a choice that you made? Or is that just the hand that you were dealt? Let's watch some more and we'll talk more in a second.
I ran away.
You ran away?
I just ran away because I got sick of, it felt like they weren't doing anything.
At what age were you on your own?
11.
You ran away at 11?
Yeah.
And where'd you go at 11?
I just ran away. That's when I started prostituting.
That's crazy. That's so gross. That's
Actually,
so sad.
I met a guy, and then he started like having sex with me and stuff, and then he just showed me to prostitute. And ever since I was from like 11 until even now, I prostitute because I don't have a job and nobody will hire me. I don't have my high school diploma. I don't have any family. Like, I started doing cocaine at 11 too. He showed me cocaine. I stopped doing cocaine though because that's why I'm so small now. And now I came to Skid Row.
You're in a tent?
Mm-hmm. I stay in a tent out here because I don't want him to, I'm scared he's gonna find me.
Do you have any hopes and dreams of doing anything else in life?
I want to go to school. I want to learn more. I want to be a lawyer. I want to do cosmetology. But I don't know if I can because I haven't been to school since I was 11.
Wow.
10.
So you never went to high school?
It's less than a middle school education.
Never been to high school. That's so embarrassing to say.
No.
I've never been to high school. All I know is the streets.
When you're thinking of trying to kill yourself, why is that? Because you don't see hope, you don't see...
I feel, what am I here for?
No one loves you?
Nobody loves me. Nobody cares about me. Nobody, like I told you, nobody checks on me. Nobody does anything for me. I've been selling my vagina since I was 11 years old. And before that, I got raped treacherously, molested treacherously, abused, tortured treacherously. I don't even like to show my body. I hate myself because of everything that I've been through, and I just feel like I'll probably try to kill myself today, especially probably tomorrow.
And it's like, if you really look at her face, you can see so much pain there. Like, she tries to hide behind like a smirk or some type of smile like a lot of people do, but you know, that's got to be so difficult. Imagine that, you know, your whole life has just been one bad set of circumstances after the other. And she feels, every day she wakes up, she feels like killing herself. And in that regard, I can relate to that. There was a period of time in my life where I didn't care if I lived or I died, but I mean, nothing I went through obviously compares to what she's going through right now.
Because tomorrow's Christmas and I don't have anybody. I'm not even gonna get to eat any food.
I'm gonna bring you Christmas dinner tomorrow, so you have to not kill yourself, all right? I'm gonna bring you Christmas dinner tomorrow. Can I do that?
Yeah. What time?
I'll be here 2 o'clock, something like that.
2 p.m.?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring you dinner.
Okay. Here?
Yeah. Or I know. I think I know where you. You tell me. You show me where your tent is, and
Okay.
We'll figure out a place to meet.
Okay.
I'm not going to let you kill yourself.
Okay.
Not on my watch. No, not a day after you and I met. All right.
I'll try.
I'll give you a reason to not kill yourself tonight. I'm going to bring you a nice Christmas dinner tomorrow.
I want some
And a
food
present.
too. Okay.
You got a present.
You promise?
I promise. I'm a man of my word. You ask anybody out here.
Okay.
I'm a good guy.
Okay.
I'm not up to no good. When I tell you I'm going to be here, it's going to rain tomorrow. I'm going to be here.
Okay.
All right.
You see, like at the end of the video, you can see there, like sometimes one small act of kindness literally can prevent someone from killing themselves. I know there was times during my addiction or times during horrible depressions, bouts of depressions that I've been through, whether in sobriety or addiction or before my addiction. There was times I felt like the lowest of the low, and one nice thing somebody said or did for me, it can mean the whole world. It can literally be life and death. So guys, always remember to be kind to one another. Remember that, you know, one small act of kindness can literally make somebody's day. And guys, it's not that hard to do. It's not that hard to do a nice thing for somebody. So that's my challenge for you guys today, is to do something nice for someone. And let's start a conversation. Why do you guys think stories like this are so common? Guys, one thing I'm really passionate about is bringing situations to light just like this. And that's why I'm creating my new groundbreaking documentary about addiction and the mental health epidemic. So if you guys want to help me to do some more videos like this of my own, where I can go in person and interview some of these people and get their stories and bring awareness to it, consider joining my Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Richie Weber. You can even get your name in the credits of the documentary. You can get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content before anybody else. There's polls, there's an exclusive group. You can vote on where we're going. You guys can literally be a part of the documentary. So please check out the Patreon. For less than the price of a pack of cigarettes, you guys can be a part of it. Guys, if you want to help me spread awareness about this, please make sure you like and share this video. Leave a comment down below. And until next time, we'll see you guys then. Thanks.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Beverly? Beverly, there?
Hi, I'm here. Are you hearing me?
Beverly?
Yes.
Yes. So you heard that child's story, and
Yes.
it kind of sound familiar.
Of course. Trauma. If you listen, God, or you know, and I would say about 75% of drug addicts' life comes from early childhood trauma. Unresolved issues. If you listen to these stories carefully, most of it come from unresolved childhood issues, you know. And I could speak for mine. I mean, my mother died when I was 5 years old, and that started my journey. All the rape, and the rape during the drug use was not the only rape. I had it before, all growing up, you know, from family members, strangers, people living in the community, because I didn't know how to speak out. I could not, you know, say no. I never grew up in a home where somebody said, I love you. I didn't know anything about that, or give me a hug, you know, or say any nice things. It was always, move from here, go on, you're stupid, you don't, you know. It was always those kinds of things. So I could well understand this young lady's story, you know. I mean, when you want to ease that pain, when you want to get away from, and you feel so hopeless and helpless. I remember buying a bottle of Gramazone and put it by the side of my bed, contemplating when to drink it. But thank God I never did.
And well, we understand from Nyla Wellington. Nyla told us that this young lady, there was a GoFundMe program set up for her, and thank God somebody decided to turn her life in a different direction. And that was my friend of mine, Terry Weber. He runs a group out there in America, and he has his own group going on. So we linked up, and he will be on Dependency at some point, because he had his trauma as well with substance abuse, many trips to prison and all of that. As much as we could, we're going to share these stories to you. You must identify something in your home or somebody you know going through this. And as Ms. Wellington said, trauma is stored and passed on in your DNA too as well. But you see, we have never been scientific as that in Trinidad and Tobago. Things happen. He just a worthless fellow. He just a worthless little girl. She like plenty man, and not understanding there's always most of the time a backstory, you know, and killing a child with you're trying to beat discipline into someone because some parents think they could do that too as well.
Agreed.
You know,
correct.
They could beat alcoholism or
beat it out of them.
Beat it out of them, you know, and carry them by Obiaman or somebody to pray for them because they have a zombie on them, and
carry them in the church, and the church will get rid of the whatever it is.
Yeah, and not understanding that sometimes your grandfather or great-grandfather was an alcoholic, your father was an alcoholic, and it could be passed on from generation to generation. So Beverly, before you have a question? Sorry.
Yes, a question from Facebook. Someone asked, Tracy asked, after all that you've overcome, what is your new superpower that keeps you?
Serenity place for one.
Right.
And helping women, and not just women, but men, whoever comes to me for help. You know, that keeps me going. It is such an honor. I feel so great when I am able to help somebody and see a genuine smile on their face. If it's just to say that I love you, I care, you know, I feel so good to know that I can do that, because while I was out there, nobody, you know, lots of people reach out and say, why don't you change your life and all of that. And this is my way of giving back. This is my way of giving back. So what keeps me clean and keeps me going is me reuniting with my kids, having them around me, Serenity Place, being the director of Serenity Place, holding on, helping women, seeing them smile, have a genuine smile every day after they walk through the gates in their trauma, in their state, and they can genuinely smile and they can genuinely, you know, say thank you and feel good about themselves and feel confident. That's what keeps me going.
Those of you on Facebook, thank you very much for your comments. Thank you as usual for being faithful and loyal supporters and followers of what we do. Those of you on radio as well. We take some calls for Beverly, and those of you who have any questions or any further comments to make, we could take your calls at 622-3937. And before we do that, while you wait on the calls, thanks to Diego Martin, Councillor Kida, what's her name?
James.
Miss Kida James, for staying on top of Wassa and getting us that water down in the Vale. Thank you very much to the councillor. We have a councillor finally that working for us, and we're really proud of that. We thank you very much. Coming slowly but surely, but we know you've been on top of Wassa to get that rectified as a councillor for you, and we really thank you very, very much for your hard work in doing so. Good evening. Hello, good evening.
Okay. We're hardly hearing you.
Hardly hearing you. Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. God, Natasha.
Good evening.
Bianca. Right. I would like to say to Beverly that I really admire her strength. And I know probably somewhere in her heart, she is hoping that her sons would one day realize that, you know, they need help. And I really wish that they do. And I ask that the Lord give her the strength she needs to continue her good work. Yeah?
Yes. Thank you very much for your support and your comment. And so this is just a bounce off of what to pay for what to come. One second, caller. We have a 12-part health series coming up soon, so look out for that. And it will take this format of what we just did here. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hi, good evening.
622-3937, and of course coming. I'd like to say hello to a lady I met in Borneo yesterday when we went to look for barbell, and she was so elated in excitement in her voice. God, Sinclair, of course, and the cashier was equally amused, and of course the cashier too. She said, you know, they listen to I-95, and good service for once. You know me and cashiers how drop it, yes. But this cashier was very, very helpful, and I want to say good evening to you all out there in Borneo, and in tribute to Barbell. Some members of the batch went and looked for Barbell yesterday, And it was a nice evening with Superville, Barry Pierre, Raymond Barras, Mackenzie Joseph, Goodrich, and myself. We sat with the old boy and, had a nice little conversation. He's our grandfather now, but he grew us up in the regiment, and we want to thank him for his time with us. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to Gus, Natasha, and Miss Bev.
Good evening.
Mrs. Lett, Mr. and Mrs. Lett calling.
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Lett.
So very good. And the more I hear those stories, because I've been working with Miss Bev not as long. Well, I've been in the association since the outcome of Serenity Place.
Right.
But that is the strongest woman I've met for a long time. That powerful strength that she possesses, I pray that God will continue to guide her with it, continue to give her the strength to go on and to be blessed.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
God will continue to guide even her children, Marsha, all of them. God bless even her boys. Ms. Bev, love you, even though you don't see me as you always do, but I always listen to everything that you have to say. God bless you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lett. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that lovely comment. And
we have another call. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good afternoon, guys.
Good evening, Mano.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I wonder if the lady ever met up any of those women, any of the five of them at any time, and what was the kind of, sight and thing when if she had bunged them up? And if they can be bunged up, they can still be jailed.
Right, that's a good question. I don't know if of course, if they can be recognized. Of course, I think so. But Beverly, did you ever hear about these men at all, or ever? Anybody ever guide you to where or what happened with them?
Gus, no, I didn't know the men. I never saw them before. And to tell you the honest truth, if I see them again, I was in so much pain, I don't know if I would recognize them.
Yeah, of course, yes.
But the young lady, the woman who I spoke about, who led me into that trauma, she died.
She died
a few years later.
Okay.
During same drug use, because of her drug use, she died.
Right.
But I don't know the men. I if I see them, I would not make them out.
But it's interesting too that the woman who introduced you, the person who introduced you to cocaine was a woman as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and she set you up too. That's a setup.
Yeah.
She set you up really bad there. Denise wants to know commendations to Beverly. What advice would you give to young person experiencing these signs, and who can they reach out to?
Well, of course, Serenity Place, and I will say our numbers. You can call me anytime.
Yes, give us the numbers.
It's 648-5401, 794-7980, and 328-6298. That's 648-5401, 794-7980, and 328-6298.
Right.
You can reach us there.
Now, should parents now have conversations with their children about their family line, the grandfather or the grandmother? These things should no longer be hidden. Should parents have open
Yes, they should. And even women getting into relationships should find out about their spouse's background and history, family history.
Right.
If there have been substance abuse or what kinds of trauma that they have been through. Parents should be talking to children. We can no longer keep these things any secrets anymore.
Yes.
We can no longer put these things in a box and say the baby come from a plane and you're not supposed to know that, you're too small. That era has gone. That era has gone. We have to speak to our children. We have to be their friends. We have to help them to understand and to know what is happening in the world. We have to protect them. We have to love them. Most important, we have to be our children's friends, because somebody else out there will be their friend and it would be the wrong person.
Let's take another call, 622-3937. Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Sick.
Hello. All right, we have a question from Facebook from Udine Bev. How do you get funding for your organization?
Okay, we get a subvention from the government, a small subvention every quarter, and we do our own fundraisers. We sell sauce, and now we sell in seasonings and pepper sauce. We get assistance from individuals and companies who we would write to. We do a lot of begging, asking for donations in different places, so that's how we get by.
622-3937, good evening. What's going on with the lines? Hello, good evening.
Hello. Keep trying us.
We're having a little issue with the lines here, for some reason.
Yeah.
And also condolences to Miss Jean Job and the passing of her husband,
Yes.
Captain John Job.
Job.
National hero, true soldier, but he has transitioned. And you remember, Captain Job was one of the what you call the stars.
The stars of the 1970.
Yes,
series,
respected
right,
by all and will be missed. And Ms. Job, if you're listening, condolences to you and your family. 622-3937. Good evening.
Good evening to you, God.
Fine. Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
And to Beverly, if
Good
she's
evening.
listening. You know, when I heard Beverly's plight, and I'm saying to myself, my God, how much more can one human being take and undergo? You know? And I am saying to myself, you know, her trusting, is it that psychologically she was thinking maybe she should die? And when I heard her talk about wanting to commit suicide, I said, yes, I am sure she would have reached at that point. But thank God, she would have had a little guardian angel still looking after her. I want to salute you, ma'am. People like you in the society, you really have gone through a lot and could be a shining example to women and to families and to your children and so on. And then she mentioned something about, you know, parents telling their children what the family history is about. And you know, God and Natasha, I remember my mother and father telling us long ago, they had to write a parent to get the hand or to start courting and thing, you know. And maybe people should go back to that. So it might cut out a lot of the domestic abuse. You have to know who your family are, where they came from, a background check. When you start writing to start to really court and thing, maybe the long time thing going back there, you know. I remember my mother and father words. You couldn't just come in just so. You had to write and ask permission and all of that. Maybe we should go back there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
very much. You know, I would say when God is for you, no man can be against you. And I strongly believe and I, you know, trust God that I know that if it wasn't for God, I would not survive. I would not be where I am today. So God was always watching over me.
Right.
Always.
Yeah, for real. For real. Good evening.
Yeah, pleasant afternoon, guys. How are you doing?
Good evening. I sound like Harold.
Your boy Smarty here.
Smarty.
Oh, how you doing, Ian?
Yeah, so you're smart, Sean Smart.
Sean, sorry.
You're losing it all. Anyway, that is not what all about. Anyway, I believe personally we need, not want, but need to go back to the old time traditions and that kind of thing. It was structured and more respect and that kind of thing. Elders used to, you know, guide the young ones in a disciplined manner and that kind of thing. And then we come from the heart of discipline, right? Organization that we were employed with was based on discipline, right? We need to go back to that, right? But the thing is how we start structuring to go back to that. How we go back to that, you know, and it would be a nice thing. It would be a nice thing because I never regret the day how I grew up. How my mother used to move with me and things. I never regret that. Of course, she used to be disciplined. Very well disciplined and things. I never regret that. God, I never regret that. God bless my mother. Thank you very much.
All right, Sean. Thanks for calling. So, folks, if you want to hear this story again, you want to get this program, you can get it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Dependency on YouTube, or on our Facebook page, Dependency.
Yeah, at Facebook page, to be safe, Dependency. Just search for Dependency and it will be in the videos tab.
Right, and we're looking forward to doing it live on YouTube as well. Once you go there and like and comment. So please visit our Facebook page, and so we can start doing it live on YouTube as well. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
A very interesting program.
Thank you very much. Hope it was educational as well.
Yeah, very educational. One of the things that has impacted me the most is that.
Could you speak up a bit? You're sounding a little soft.
Shame. Beverly did not put shame in front.
Right.
As regards to her coming out and relating her stories and her experiences to others.
Right.
What is happening with women is shame. You know, we feel ashamed, and that our relatives and our friends will not have that respect, because you know you're hiding, so they respect you.
Yes.
But when you come out now into the open, is shame, and so I really thank Beverly for her openness and how she's helping others, and your program is so interesting. Okay?
Yes, my dear. Thank you so much.
The other thing is, I would like you to once again repeat the numbers so that we can contact Beverly or her organization, if any.
Yes. Yes, okay. We'll repeat the numbers. Get a pen. We'll do that now.
Okay, I have a pen.
Right. So it's
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Yes. So Beverly, any closing remarks? And folks, remember you can pay Beverly a visit, donate to
the organization, because we
organization.
need all the help that we can get.
Yes.
We have infrastructural problems that need to be repaired. So please, folks, we are asking for your assistance. The numbers are 648-5401, 794-7980, 328-6298. And we are located in the beautiful village, Cochrane Village, Point 14.
Yes. I'm praying one day, Bev, that we can build a nice structure for you somewhere away from all that traffic and all of that. And
Yes, that is what we would like,
Yes.
that, because we really want to do justice to the name Serenity.
Yes.
Serenity
yes.
means inner peace.
Peace, that's
And
right.
we don't have inner peace because we're right on the main road.
Yes.
So we're looking for an area, piece of land somewhere in a secluded area where it's more serene and where it gives justice to the name Serenity.
Don't worry, we will get that, Beverly. God is great. Trust me.
Of course. God is good all the time.
All the
and
time.
We know, and this is His work. So we
Yes.
know that
Bev?
He will do it for us.
Thank you very much. And to the ladies of Serenity Place, good evening to you all. I hope they've been listening.
And thank you, God.
Yes, thank you so much,
Thank
Bev.
you, Tash. Yes.
Welcome.
Once again for sharing your life with the world, and hope that someone would have learned from your experience.
Yes, it has been a pleasure.
Okay, Bev. So take care and we'll keep in touch.
I will. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Good evening to all.
Okay, Bev. Take care. Bye-bye. So, folks, there you have it. That was Beverly Morson from Serenity Place, Empowerment Center for Women. Again, you can call the numbers. You can get them on our Facebook page and donate whatever you can to them. A rehab center is like running a regiment. They have to feed them every day. They have to do activities every day, and it's not easy to run. So, please give all
what
the
you
help.
can.
Give all you can. Take the numbers down, call Beverly, give us some support. Once again, to all of you, thank you very much for your continued support and love that you continue to show us and to keep us going. And we'll be again next Sunday, God's willing, for another episode of Our Dependency. It's very interesting. We're doing it for the boys this time. Get your boy children lined up. Up next, Anglican Voice.
Good night.
Good night.
Eye on Dependency, where every life is a biography. On the Eye, 95.5, the most influential name in radio. This is Eye.